to note statutes, codes, regulations and acts are null and void and invalid if they are inconsistent with our Constitution as per section 109. Legislation is also not necessarily law. So our current situation and our scenario, we keep reiterating over this and going over it because we need people to wake up to the facts and how ludicrous this situation is. A legislative system works on a framework. So the Biosecurity Act of 2015 sits on top of the framework that is currently in place. Now, that has been fraudulently used for the declaration for a state of emergency and a state of disaster. The prerequisites to call for a state of emergency have not been met. The measures are not proportionate. Approximately 50 alleged deaths caused by COVID-19 Australia-wide over a 5-month period do not meet the criteria for this to be put in place. So approximately 50 deaths is excluding those that are over 80 years of age that have allegedly died of COVID-19. It is important to note the Biosecurity Act state of emergency pertains to a deadly contagious disease that is of a nationally significant scale that there is no known cure for. The Biosecurity Act state of emergency was put in place. Take note of this. The Biosecurity Act state of emergency was put in place on the 17th of March 2020. 1 week later, on the 24th of March, a known cure and remedy for the cold and flu and radiation sickness and poisoning, hydroxychloroquine, that's been used for 65 years, was basically banned in Victoria. Why would this be done? Is it possible they did this to impose the Biosecurity Act? We cannot reiterate strongly enough to people to do your own research. It is a scientific fact that there are several strains of coronavirus, probably been around for 1,000 years. So what is COVID-19? How can COVID-19 disease even exist if it has never been isolated or defined? Shitfuckery at its finest.
Yes, indeed.
As per section 475 of the Biosecurity Act 475, so the Governor-General may declare that a human biosecurity emergency exists if A listed human disease is posing a severe and immediate threat or is causing harm to human health on a nationally significant scale. 50 deaths nationwide, excluding those of our elderly, out of 25 million people is not of a national significant scale. There is no biosecurity emergency. We demand to see the evidence, the documentation and the source from where it came that the Chief Health Medical Officer, Brendan Murphy, presented to the Governor-General, David Hurley, that gave him the impression that there was a deadly contagious disease, noting no disease has been defined or isolated for this act to be put in place. So where's the evidence? What was he presented with that made him think there was a deadly contagious disease on a nationally significant scale? Where's that evidence? I think we need that. This has directly caused approximately 1,500 people to commit suicide. Now we've got domestic violence, children self-harming. That's up at least 30%.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of concerns there as well.
This is not something that's going to just go away. This is really psychological damage that's going to cause a lot of people pain and suffering for a long time to come. So this is what we need to do right now, is address these things and put out support systems, because it's going to keep getting worse.
Absolutely. I'm devastated for the mothers and the children that have no support, that are stuck at home. Some parents may have disabled children, they can't get respite, which then creates a situation for domestic abuse. And when we talk about domestic abuse, we're not just talking about, a partner physically abusing another partner. We're talking about family members abusing family members and not being able to get out of that situation. I've had multiple posts come into my Facebook where children have gone missing. 13-year-olds are running away from home and they can't find them. And people are masked. I personally can't let my children go for a walk around the block because it becomes dangerous now, because all of these people are masked up. If something was to happen to my child...
That's a really important thing now. People are masked. We can't identify them. Who the hell is walking around amongst us?
Yeah.
That's a really
If somebody robs you or attacks you, you can't identify them. No one can identify them. It's actually quite a security risk to us all. But the devastation, I think, is more for the children within our community that are going to be abused, that will have a long-standing effect for the future. And I really want you to take that into consideration when you take this whole COVID-19 pandemic on board, is what the real impact, what you're really agreeing to. When you agree to COVID-19 and the narrative, you're also agreeing to domestic violence and all these other things that inherently are coming with it. This is my opinion, but also the facts
are there
and back it up.
Suicides up. Children self-harming is very, very concerning. Children running away from home, etc. People losing their businesses, their livelihoods. Our economy has been collapsed.
And that's all going to lead to more and more
Absolutely.
mental health issues.
To use intimidation, threats or force to further political, religious or other ideology is an act of terrorism, according to the laws of this country. Without a biosecurity control order, so we need to be specific about how this Biosecurity Act is working as well. So without a biosecurity control order, the directions are as defective as the criminals giving them. The individuals in uniform known as the Victorian Police Corporation have become unlawful armed thugs, terrorising women in particular. Some extremely disturbing footage has surfaced over the past few months in Victoria of women being violently thrown to the ground, intimidated and terrorised by members of the Victorian Police Force. They've had their car windows smashed, they've been dragged out of their cars, women intimidated with their young children beside them. It's absolutely disgusting. These women are victims of crime. So they deserve compensation for the violent acts that have been inflicted on them by the Victorian Police Corporation.
We're supposed to be protecting us.
Yeah.
But it's quite hypocritical, because there's boards everywhere saying Victoria doesn't approve of violence, violence against women.
That's right, yeah, they have a campaign.
But when our own protectors are the same perpetrators.
Yeah, we need
so
to...
I think that, consider that people are going through such a hard time at the moment, and you may not agree with everything they believe in, but, put it aside, agree to disagree. People need support right now. We're being isolated physically with this lockdown. Just within our society anyway, we often get very isolated, but it's more now because people are in fear. They can't reach out to people. They can't go to someone's house, and they really need to get away from home, or if they've gone through something really difficult. So make sure you're reaching out to people and offering them support. And if you're struggling, reach out as well, because we need to unite and we need to really look after each other at this time, because it's getting worse. People are just accepting this. You go to the supermarket, you get attacked. Like now Woolies at least have made a sticker that you can put on, but we should never have to explain our choices.
People are turning on each other. It is now those that are wearing masks are becoming extremely rude, abusive bullies, and they're extremely aggressive.
Yep.
Now, I don't wear a mask because there is no COVID-19. That's my belief. That is my belief. I can't see any evidence or any fact, and I'm not falling in for the terrorisation as I've said in previous videos, I look at these masks and it reminds me of satanic rituals.
Yes.
So
Well,
it really
that's
is against my religious belief.
Yeah.
I will not wear them. So with our Biosecurity Act, under which all of this situation has been fraudulently created, it is an offence for a person not to comply with the emergency requirements and directions. A person who intentionally engages in conduct that contravenes a requirement or direction commits a criminal offence punishable by a maximum penalty of a maximum fine, of 300 penalty units, which could equate to $63,000. So hence, it is blatantly obvious that the Victorian Police Corporation officers are the ones who are actually guilty of numerous offences under the Biosecurity Act, as they are the ones who are not complying with the directives of the Act they are claiming to adhere to. And we're going to go over these reasons now. As per Section 60 of the Biosecurity Act, only a biosecurity officer may impose a human biosecurity control order on an individual. A subject of the Commonwealth of Australia may only be made subject to the directions of the Chief Health Officer or any other false authority if that individual has been personally made subject to a detailed biosecurity control order. Those responsible for terrorising and intimidating us unlawfully, arresting, detaining and assaulting us, yes, the Victorian Police Corporation officers, must be able to provide receipt of proof of service of the order that was made from a biosecurity officer that has been issued to that man or woman as an individual. Only an authorised biosecurity officer can give someone a notice to wear a mask or quarantine themselves after they have tested positive to a deadly, highly contagious disease. Now, I don't know of a deadly, highly contagious disease as what is being classed as COVID-19, as I will reiterate. It's never been isolated, it's never been defined, and I guess basically with these cold symptoms that people are getting, there is a 99.89% recovery rate. So nothing is adding up here, people.
Can I ask about that, the Biosecurity Act?
Mm-hmm.
So when we're going about our day-to-day life, the Act is basically saying that we're not to be stopped or interfered with unless the Chief Health Officer has put an order on us individually.
Yes.
Not just some announcement through the news.
You can't do that.
On a whole state.
It's unlawful.
This is what
we're getting at.
Yeah.
This is a breach of the Biosecurity Act itself.
Yeah.
You cannot put out a mass order over mainstream media to tell everyone to put on masks. This is against the Biosecurity Act 2015. So the Victorian Police Corporation, in fact, all of the shops and businesses and everyone else that are trying to force people into wearing masks and not allowing them to come in, they are all guilty of the crime of not complying to the Biosecurity Act.
Yeah.
And they can be charged criminally. Unfortunately, the Victorian Police Corporation are the main criminals in this. So despite the brainwashing of mainstream media and the threats of the dishonourable Daniel Andrews and his Victoria Police Corporation officers, the fact the law is on the side of the freedom-loving Victorian. That is fact. Anyone who believes they are free to move around as they please, to not wear a mask, and to continue on their lives as normal is 100% correct under the eyes of federal law. Federal law overrides state law. So if a state law is inconsistent with the Commonwealth or federal law, it's null and void. The Commonwealth overrides it. Now, according to Serene, Tepaha is amazing. So I'm going to read something from Serene. According to Ms. Tepaha, federal law overrides state. That is a fact. And no state of emergency situation changes that. The Biosecurity Act 2015, which is federal law, clearly states a list of obligations the government must fill in order to impose any restrictions on the good people of Victoria. The primary obligation the Victorian Government has not filled is they have not issued each person with one essential thing, a human biosecurity control order. According to federal law in Victoria, we must each as individuals be issued with our own human biosecurity control order before we are expected to adhere to any orders. I don't know about you, but I haven't had mine delivered yet. Have you?
No, I'm still waiting.
No, have you got yours?
Haven't
No.
got one.
No human biosecurity order has been slipped under any of our doors, and certainly no biosecurity control order has been sent to any of us in the mail or anybody that I know of. You cannot, according to legislation, ask groups of people to wear masks, isolate, and you cannot force testing medically. So you cannot force these tests or contract tracing. This is not allowed according to the Biosecurity Act under the Assessment of Health Risks. So I'll go over those again. You cannot, according to the legislation, ask groups of people to wear masks, isolate. You cannot force testing or medicating or contract tracing. This is not allowed according to the Biosecurity Act under the Assessment of Health Risks. For any orders to have validity, not only must we receive a personal human biosecurity control order, it must specify 1. The grounds under which the order is imposed. 2. The listed disease in relation to which the disease is imposed. 3. Any signs or symptoms of the human disease we are meant to be exhibiting. 4. A unique identifier for the order. 5. A list of each biosecurity measure with which the individual must comply and an explanation of why. And there is more. If we are not issued with the correct human biosecurity control order, then we don't have to do anything the government says in relation to this pandemic. We are just stuck in such a dreadful situation at the moment.
And also with that, is it true that if you did get an order put on you and you believe that you weren't sick because it hadn't been proven, you have the right of review, is that correct?
Correct,
Yep.
absolutely,
Yep.
Absolutely. And you can go and get that done independently.
Yep.
Any fines or action taken against us by the police would be deemed unlawful.
We have been saying that from the start.
We've been saying it from the start. So we people, you need to wake up to this. We just need to get this out as far as and wide as we can. We need people to just use their common sense. Do the maths. Primary school child can do the maths here. Approximately 278 deaths attributed, alleged COVID-19 deaths as of the 7th of August. So it may have gone up a little bit more, but we've got to, continually remember that of those deaths, over 85% of those were the elderly over 80 years of age, and the median age for death here in Australia is 82 years of age. They're just, it's criminal what they're doing.
It is criminal, and also because the elderly in the nursing homes aren't being taken care of properly.
Yeah.
They're being neglected.
This is a major issue.
This is really, they're already vulnerable and compromised immune systems with their age and obviously underlying conditions, but to just not be looked after properly is just inhumane. And how do they even have a fighting chance when they're not being taken care of properly, to even just be fed and getting
and not
water
seeing
and
their
direct
family.
attention? Well, yeah,
This is
isolation is massive.
This is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say. These are the things that really pull at your heartstrings, is family members losing loved ones, and those beloved, precious elderly in nursing homes. I mean, that's their life, waiting for their family to come and visit them and spend time with them. That's what they live for. Mm-hmm. Oh dear, it's a ludicrous situation. We find ourselves in, also the extension of the biosecurity emergency. There is no emergency here. It hasn't met the prerequisites. It has not met the criteria. So extension of the biosecurity emergency under Section 476, the Governor General may vary a biosecurity emergency declaration to extend the human biosecurity emergency period for a period of up to 3 months if the health minister is satisfied. How can you be satisfied? They've got so much to answer for. The figures do not add up. So, I mean, I'll reiterate, removing the elderly deaths from that figure leaves us with 50 alleged deaths across Australia, which actually equates to 10 a month. And we've lost our country over it.
Yep.
10 tragic deaths per month. There was no threat on a nationally significant scale to begin with. So how can you extend an emergency declaration when there's no threat to begin with? Nothing makes sense, people. And we are losing everything. People are losing their homes. Many have lost their businesses. We are under extreme duress and hard times here, and the government must be made accountable. We're just going to go a little bit into the actual coronavirus. So coronaviruses are named for their crown-like spikes on their surface, and there are 4 main subgroupings of coronavirus known as alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. So you can reference all of this on the CDC government website. The reliability, something else from the government website, this is from the TGA government website. The reliability of COVID-19 tests is uncertain due to the limited evidence base. Not to mention that the gentleman who invented the test tragically died last year, but he clearly stated that the tests should never be used basically because they were not accurate.
Well, not to be used for that purpose.
For that purpose, to determine this. But they were not accurate. A positive test shows that you may have antibodies from an infection with the virus that causes COVID-19. However, there is a chance a positive result means that you have antibodies from an infection with a virus from the same family of viruses called coronavirus, such as one that causes the common cold. The source for this reference is from the CDC government coronavirus 2019. All this information is on the government website. Human coronaviruses, what have we got here, are commonly associated with the common cold. Typically, nasal congestion, sore throat, sneezing and cough may be associated with fever. They are the second most common cause of the common cold after rhinoviruses. So this is off the website for the, sciencedirect.com topics neuroscience human coronavirus. Australia has spent almost 19 million so far on imported testing kits to identify COVID-19 antibodies that the government has conceded are of limited use for as long as the prevalence of COVID-19 is low in Australia and available serological tests. Those relying on detecting the virus antibodies are not approaching 100% specifically. Serological testing to measure the prevalence of COVID-19 will not be meaningful. This is what the Australian National University study concealed. In short, the kits were delivering such an unacceptably high rate of false positives that their inaccuracy makes them virtually useless. Now that is on the channel7.com lifestyle health and wellbeing. Channel 7 News actually has put that up. Geez, that must be the first thing they've actually said that's true. The Age and Sydney Morning Herald revealed on Tuesday that the federal government has received official advice that the 1 million antibody tests it purchased are not fit for purpose. The government has repeatedly refused to say how much it paid for the tests or who they were purchased from. The government also tried to purchase 500,000 tests manufactured by the Chinese company Wandfo, the same company that supplied tests to the UK, which are now embroiled in scandal. So this is from the smh.com.au national
Sunday Morning Herald.
Sunday Morning Herald. Sunday Morning Herald. The national statistics obtained by the ABC revealed from January to June that there were just 36 deaths from the flu. That compares to 430 deaths in the same period for 2019. That's also from the ABC News. That's just food for thought. We've got the situation we have is, I think we mentioned earlier, just the discrimination and rudeness that we are receiving from mask wearers. People who are trying to act as police officers, stopping you in the street and saying, "Where's your mask?" It's none of your bloody business.
And it's also criminal.
It's actually a criminal offence.
So approaching somebody, asking them where their mask, or if they have a medical exemption, you need to be aware that you are
impersonating an authorised officer.
That's exactly right,
Yeah.
which is an offence. So, and it's hypocritical.
Yeah, there is actually a
There are many
law.
exemptions.
Yeah, there's a law. In,
Many people have
Victoria,
exemptions.
Yeah, and Victoria Police Act 2013, Section 256, look it up. You can actually be jailed for up to a year for impersonating a police officer. So when you, any of you mask wearers out there that think you have the authority to question someone and berate them for not wearing a mask, you're actually committing a crime yourself.
Stopping them, touching
You're
them,
the only one
harassing.
committing a crime,
Yeah.
actually,
Yes.
because we're not committing crimes,
No, we're
not
not.
wearing them. People suffer from all kinds of medical conditions, including those of mental health,
Yep.
religious reasons, etc. There are many reasons for exemptions, and
And
nobody's
all of
got the
those
right to question.
and all of those reasons are no one else's business. And to think that you can just go up to random people that you do not know and interrogate them is ludicrous. So many, and which shows me that right now in Australia, so many people have lost their minds.
That's right.
You wouldn't normally do that to anybody.
And
What
you know,
about that?
considering the mask wearing people they're not considered that the medical exemption this person has to not wear a mask could be mental illness, including panic disorder, anxiety. So you are triggering that disorder with your, inappropriate questioning. It's just awful. Like, we're not taking care of each other when we're interrogating each other. So this is where we need to take a step back and understand people have different reasons and they only have to be lawful. Go to the DHHS website. It's their own directive. The police officer, if they ask anyone for not wearing a mask, you only have to provide a lawful reason. And the police officers even know, because Jackie and I got approached on the first day of the mask mandate. And the police officer asked me, why aren't you wearing a mask? And I said, medical exemption. He goes, fine. And then he asked Jackie, and we all have seen that video. And Jackie knew her law. He couldn't question her.
But the
way
point,
he wanted to.
the
And
point is
because,
there's no law that
yeah,
says you've got to wear a mask
that's
anyhow.
right. We've got a federal law saying this now.
I
so
don't
they're
have a
trying to.
biosecurity order telling me I have to wear a mask.
Nope.
So that's the point of this as well. So just the point out there to all of these ignorant and rude people who think they can confront people for not wearing masks. You
very
really
intimidating.
need to pull your heads in. We had a dreadful experience with an elderly woman. Look, God bless your soul, madam. She was double masked. We were up the street. She decides to fly into an abusive rage at us because we didn't have masks on. She was walking down the street using the F-bomb, saying she hoped we effing died. I mean,
and all we said
what
was like,
is going on?
We said you don't need to be nasty and we hope you have a nice day because you
Yes.
don't need to behave like that. We don't...
We respect you if you want to wear a mask.
question
Don't
someone
attack
wearing a mask.
us.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of feedback from that, which isn't...
And at the
Not
end of the day,
inappropriate.
it's a choice that people
It's
are making.
freedom of
Every
choice.
time you put your mask on, it's a choice that you are making. Because as we have discussed, there is no actual law that's enforcing that, apart from you turning on a screen, watching Channel 7 or Channel 9 or Channel 10,
ABC.
watching Dishonourable Dan telling you to do that. Where is the
Unlawfully.
that's exactly right.
Unlawfully.
It is your responsibility as Australians to actually understand the laws and understand the directions that you are following. Hence, we are providing you with the information. We're showing you the legislation. We're giving you all the reference points to go back to. You can, rewind this and go back to it.
That's
You
right.
didn't have to shut your businesses down.
No.
You did that with tacit acquiescence. You did not have to shut your businesses down. That is the fear mongering. That is terrorisation through mainstream media and through these bloody dishonourable Dan and Jenny McCarkis. They are accountable. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So, if we're in this pandemic, this highly contagious, we've got a state of emergency, why are planes, we keep discussing this, why are planes coming in and out of Melbourne Airport daily if we have an emergency? There are thousands of people arriving per week. Where are they all going into quarantine? Where are they being accommodated? Why are there exemptions for certain people as well? I mean, we've had friends that have not been able to cross borders for months yet.
Yeah.
On the 8th of July, there were at least 100 international Chinese students that were able to cross the Victorian border over to New South Wales in chartered cars because of limited flights from Melbourne to Sydney. Were they subject to quarantine as each state requires? What the hell is going on in this country? One of these students was also quoted as saying she thought the Australian government was terrible because of the restrictions that failed to provide a respite for international students. Oh, you poor girl. Jesus. People have committed suicide. We've lost our businesses. Our economy is crashing. Sorry. Our government hasn't been accommodating to you, because they've actually been a lot more accommodating to you than they have been to us. It's bloody treasonous. It's traitorous. Shit fuckery at its finest, what can I say? So that was from ABC News, that reference about the 100 international students crossing the border, and the quote from the Chinese student. We've recently there are so many freedom of informations that have been put into the Australian government. So this is one. The Australian Government Corporation's $352 million donated to a European Union to lead coronavirus research fund. What's that all about?
I didn't say one of my
astronomical figures. The Australian government has also donated $460 million to the Bill Gates funded foundation Gavi to continue its vital work providing vaccines for countries across the Indo-Pacific. Are you kidding me? Isn't Bill Gates under investigation for millions of deaths across India and Africa from his experiments on these people? Isn't he being charged with war crimes? And how the hell can our government be putting that kind of money out? They are treasonous and they are traitors. They are not looking after the Australian people. We've got homeless people, we've got returned servicemen living on the streets. Our elderly cannot afford food, families, heating in winter, etc. And now everyone is in absolute crisis, and they are donating astronomical amounts of money. Who voted for this? Who approved such large donations from Australian taxpayers? So the response to the freedom of information asking these questions is that whoever this representative is from the Australian Government Corporation who responds to freedom of information, FOIs, they have said, I am satisfied that the searches conducted were thorough and all reasonable steps were taken to locate the documents relevant to your request. I am satisfied the documents referred to in your request do not exist. As a consequence, relying on 24A of the FOI Act, I cannot provide access to any of the documents you request. So no documents exist to show how and who approved these astronomical amounts. We're fed up with all the lies and the manipulated figures that are being used to add to this non-existent disease. Channel 7, you're just mongrels. They're renowned for their lies and manipulation of the facts. One of the latest stories they aired was about the tragic death of a 51-year-old gentleman, Kelvin Nugent, who, according to Channel 7, died of COVID-19. Yet he had actually been battling cancer for some time, and his family commented on the story Channel 7 put up. As they're putting up the comments, Channel 7 were then removing all the comments, following which they just then turned off the comment section altogether. Appalling behaviour, Channel 7. You are accountable for so much, including adding to the unnecessary stress and duress from the family who are already suffering from the loss of a loved one. $14,000 was being offered by the Australian government to anyone who was happy to have their loved ones' deaths recorded as COVID-19, even if they died from a car accident or a long-term disease. People wake up to the corruption and manipulation that is going on here. The fraud and corruption is on such an astronomical scale, it defies belief. I guess we're getting really concerned now because we're heading into winter and we've got cold and flu. We were only discussing that actually earlier. That was last year and then I think 2018 as well. It was some of the worst cold and flus around. I was bedridden for nearly 3 weeks. Sue's had the same thing. Just colds, they change. They
different years have
different years.
And so some
they mutate. So, and they have been really severe in the last couple of years. So
we didn't shut the whole country down for them.
We certainly didn't. Many people are going to get a cold and flu this winter. It's not COVID-19. As we just said, it's been debilitating flu over the last couple of years. People bedridden, some coming down with a second bout. So I suppose this is now going to be considered the non-existent COVID-19. I myself rang up to get into the doctors the other day, and doctors are now refusing to see people at medical centres. So I was personally told if I have a sniffle, a cough, if I feel nauseous, I have a fever, aches or pains, a headache, dizziness. Basically, if I felt unwell at all, I was not welcome to attend the clinic. WTF, people. It's absolutely ridiculous. We need to always keep in mind our Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities, 2006, Section 12, freedom of movement. Google this, you can print it all out. Section 13, everyone has the right to his or her privacy and not to have their reputation unlawfully attacked. This is happening everywhere. Section 15, freedom of expression. Section 16, right to peaceful assembly. Section 18, taking part in public life. Section 21, right to freedom and security of person. Our Victorian Police Corporation officers, this is for you, Section 38, conduct of public authorities. It is unlawful for a public authority to act in a way that is incompatible with a human right or in making a decision to fail to give proper consideration to a relevant human right. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter to you, does it, guys? Because, ladies and gentlemen, actually, mainly the men in there, because you're not even following your own Biosecurity Act. You're not following any law under our Constitution. You are literally armed thugs, criminals. Our situation is ultra vires. The government has gone well beyond the powers we, the people, have given them. Australians, stand up and speak up. If we do nothing, it is tacit acquiescence. Let your voices be heard. We all know something is not right and we are just allowing our country to be destroyed. It's absolutely been destroyed with no grounds and there's no basis. There's
nothing is as it seems.
No.
Wake up.
Nothing else.
On a different note, someone sent me a photo of Box Hill Police Station. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes.
This is something for us to investigate, isn't it?
I think that's been up for a while at Box Hill, but...
Well,
that's our question.
The question is...
How long? Yeah.
How long has the Chinese flag been erect at the Box Hill Police Station? And why are there other police stations that have the Chinese flag? Are they